Sure.
Oh, my mountain coach, my brother, my I don't, you know, I love you. Even when I hate you, I love
I know,
you.
I
Sibusiso,
know,
Vilane.
I know.
Remember, do you remember,
I love you too, Jerry. I love you too, Jerry, and we'll always, you
do
know.
you remember when we came back from Argentina, you sent me a note and you said, hey, someone is looking for a person to go to all the highest peaks in South Africa and to take people up all the highest peaks in South Africa. And it was so horrible for me because my mouth and my mind was saying turn him down, and my heart was saying you really do want to visit all the highest peaks in South Africa. I was still struggling with pain in my body, and my heart was saying, you know, you don't want to say,
Yeah,
so you know. And
no,
as a mountaineer, I think that happens all the time. And I even said to you, I hate you right now, but I really,
of
really love
course.
you right now for bringing us this.
Yeah,
And this was having come back from Argentina, Aconcagua, that we really were hoping to summit. And just when I think about our topic, you know, the mountain is calling, but you're sitting in the midst of a lockdown. I really feel as though our guide locked us down on that mountain.
well, yes, it did. Absolutely. It was very, very typical lockdown scenario because let's take our listener and viewer to the scene. We arrive at our intermediate summit camp because we still had to climb to a summit camp. I call them summit camps because the summit camp is where I believe you start when you go for the final stretch to the summit. But we were at the lower one, not our proper summit camp, but it was at over 5,000 meters, which was a big achievement for you, in my opinion. And when we got to that stage, I had no doubt, personally, I had no doubt as your leader, as your coach, that you had all the ability to make it to the summit of that mountain, given the opportunity being weather allowing. I never saw anything, but surprise, surprise, we arrived there and our guide decides that he wasn't going to take us. But I feel that I might have contributed to it in a sense, in that I had relied on him. I had relied
Oh
on
yeah.
him to bring our food, which he had left at lower camp, and only to find that there was no food at the camp where we were that I could eat. And then I wanted to go down to bring my food up because he wasn't even offering options of him either going down or arranging someone to bring the food up. And I was starving to death. We were starving to death because there was nothing.
I was
So
just
anyway,
say,
realizing that,
I was just going to
yeah,
say, I don't think there was enough sustenance. I would have gone,
no, there wasn't.
eating out of our own bags, whatever we could. But there certainly wasn't the kind of sustenance that we've had on other mountains to ensure that we sustain. It was going to be mind over matter for us to make it on that mountain, and that was unheard of, and it was surprising.
It was very surprising because when you sign up with an operator who then give you a package where they say all meals included, being breakfast, lunches, and dinners, you expect as such. But unfortunately, we were not given enough food. And as a result of that, knowing that we had brought food from South Africa, because I'd been to these places and I always try and bring my own as backup. And this time we needed our backup, but he had left it purely because he didn't want to, and he forgot about his responsibility or duty when allocating the porters to carry our stuff. And therefore I wanted to go down to bring enough food for us to mount a summit attempt, at which point then he turned back and said, oh no, I'm not I'm canceling this expedition, him claiming that weather conditions were deteriorating and the mountain was looking magnificent. So yes, he locked us down
Yeah.
because he took the goalpost, which was the summit for us. It just robbed us of a summit. But then coming back to lockdown, there is a stage when you need to realize that it is what it is. If you can't change it or influence it any other way, then therefore you only adapt and accept and then move away, which is what we had to do at the end of it.
For me, there were a few points of disappointment. Of course, the first was when he first told me, just out of the blue, that he wasn't taking us to Summit. I was surprised. When we actually started packing up to leave the mountain based on I'm not sure what, that was my first point of, I think, the real pain, because of course, when I think you taught me this, when we go to a mountain, we go with every intention to summit. We don't go because it's a
Yeah.
good time. I've gone to mountains,
No.
including Kilimanjaro, with people who just thought it was a good experience. Whether I summit or not, it's okay. And those are the people whom I've heard complain. I've heard them tell other people, don't worry. If we go down, we go down. That's not why I've climbed mountains. And I think with my first summits, I began to realize that I have what I've come to call mountain ego, because I'm not egotistical in my own life, but I have mountain ego. I must summit. I must show this
Yeah.
mountain that I'm boss. I must show myself that I can. And and and
Mm.
and I had every intention to go as far as I could until you,
Yeah.
and that's where I made the mistake, until you, Sibusiso Vilane,
Yeah.
told me to come down.
Said
And
and said
I,
no.
I
Yeah.
believe that when I decided on that mountain that I will only submit to you is when I made my mistake.
Mm.
But it doesn't take
Yeah.
away from the fact that this young man was crazy. He accused me of never saying thank you, for example. Wow. Um,
Mm.
and I think the other mistake that he made was that coming down off the mountain and calling me weak. When even you say,
Yeah.
Jerry could have done this. But I can't wait to go back. It's unfortunate. But you and I have other mountains to summit. And one of those mountains is ensuring that people still climb mountains after this lockdown.
Yes. Yes. We That's probably why we have this conversation, to say to people, COVID-19 will go one day at some stage. Therefore, we need to remain as resilient as we can be when it comes to hopes and our future dreams and ambitions. Because when this dark cloud is gone, we will still have a life to live. We'll still have adventures to try and pursue. This is the opportune time for you to sit down and just write them down, knowing that we will climb those mountains for sure. So it gives us the hope during these times of hopelessness and people frustrated and testing times. So if you want to do yourself a big favor, remember that you've got your 7 summits to climb, you've got your Kilimanjaro to climb, you've got your Everest to climb. I've got my many millions of mountains to climb. I'm talking about physical mountains. I'm talking about physical mountains. I'm not talking about your metaphoric ones that you are climbing here at home. The ones we are climbing here at home right now is how do you while away every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month, up until such time that we are unlocked. And that's up to you to decide what are things that you need to focus on and work on right now. If you are like a Jerry or myself, why don't you get on to a chat and talk to people and find out what things are. Share stories of inspiration of what you did last year. That's why we are looking back to say last year this time we're packing our bags going to Mount Everest Base Camp, and I find it very invigorating. I mean, I've been looking at pictures and of last year and of our Aconcagua attempt this year. That gives me all the energy to feel very positive, to keep my mind and my body ready and fresh to strike when everything else improves and gets better. And it will. It is nature. We know that for sure. After a big storm comes sunshine, and the sunshine will come.
Amen and amen to that.